Welcome, everybody. We're going to take a dive into the Jewish Bible, and we're going to look at the origins of the seven Noahide laws. Maybe you heard about these seven Noahide laws, maybe you haven't. Today, scholars, religious leaders are attempting to discredit the seven Noahide laws. And what we're looking at is from the Sefaria app. So you have the Jewish Bible, Bereshit, Genesis, looking at Genesis chapter 2, verse 16. And on your right-hand side is Rabbi Ezekiel Benei Noach, also known as Tiskuni, his interpretation or commentary on the seven Noahide laws. So we're looking at the first word in Hebrew, Vezav. Vayetzav is a reference to establishing courts and judges to deal with disputes and violations of God's commandments. The Torah refers to this again in Genesis chapter 18, verse 19, when explaining right God discusses the imminent destruction of the Sodomites with Abraham. So this is the first Noahide commandment, establishing courts and judges to deal with disputes and violations of God's commandments. These are for non-Jewish people. Tiskuni, may his memory be a blessing. This rabbi lived in the 13th century. We're going to look at the second Noahide commandment. Letter Hey is referring to Yud Hey Vav Hey, a reference to God's honor, that is a hint that blasphemers must be punished. That's the second Noahide commandment. Excuse me, guys. The third Noahide commandment is Elohim, which is this word right here, Elohim. A hint not to practice paganism as spelled out in Exodus chapter 20, verse 3. You must not have other deities. This refers to idol worship. That's what this means. And the fourth commandment is El Ha'adam. So if you look right here at the translation, when you see this Hebrew word, Ha'adam, it's not the Adam, it's not the man, it's a mistranslation. The correct translation should be human being. And that's what that means in Hebrew. And Tiskuni commentators on this as a hint forbidding the shedding of human blood, which is murder. This has been spelled out in greater detail in Genesis chapter 9, verse 6, another reference in the Bible. The next word, lemor. It's right here, lemor. This is a hint not to commit incest and other forbidden forms of gratifying one's libido. It is spelled out clearly in Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 1, where the prophet condemns legal maneuvers by divorcing a wife so she can legally sleep with another partner, all the while intending to take her back. And this is referring to sexual immorality. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Noahide divine commandments. The next one, Mikol Eitz Hagan, of every tree of the garden is what that means. And this is an allusion to not commit robbery, for example, unless we have permission from the Creator to enjoy what He placed on earth. For that person, it is considered as a fiat robbery. So Adam and Chava, his first wife Eve, his wife Eve, they actually stole from God. They committed robbery. They stole from God by eating from the tree of good and evil. As a Christian, I never understood this, and I always wondered what was the commandment that they broke. They disobeyed God, right? But it actually happened to be theft, robbery. And that is the sixth Noahide divine commandment. And the next one is Acho Tochel. Acho Tochel is a hint not to eat flesh from an animal that is still alive. So that is the seventh Noahide divine commandment, found right here in Genesis chapter 2, verse 16, in these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, in these 11 words. How far back do these seven Noahide commandments go? Like I mentioned, They were first given to Adam and Chava. As a Christian, you're probably wondering, well, this isn't in the New Testament. And actually it is. There are 7 Noahide divine commandments in Acts chapter 15. I'll make a video and we'll take a look at the Greek, as we did in this video, looking at the Hebrew, and we'll look at the 7 Noahide commandments. How come scholars aren't talking about the 7 Noahide commandments found in Acts chapter 15? Is because, once again, if you haven't watched my video, Bible Scholars Errancy, they're not trained in their theology to read this freely. Like they cannot read this Hebrew freely. The same with the Greek. They either study each word and the grammar, but because they're not exposed to people who speak Hebrew or Greek or Latin, it's difficult to study this and to begin speaking these languages. But once again, this isn't in their theology, because in Christianity, we're told we can't keep the commandments of God. But right there in Acts chapter 15, we're told otherwise, that the people 2,000 years ago were turning to the God of Israel, and they were actually doing what's called in Hebrew tshuva. They were repenting, returning to the God of Israel, returning to Hashem, and that's in Acts chapter 15. So we'll take a look at that, and I wanted to share this with you guys to educate you, to give you free biblical education and the sources and the languages of what I'm reading from. You guys have a good week. I'm out of here.